Hello everybody! Are you ready for the most extra specialist species video yet? I hope so, because this species is mine. We're talking about Astral Myconids, an open species by Sera. Me. This Sera. I come from space with videos and a new species for your face. I make a video series where I talk about all the things and stuff about your favorite and soon-to-be favorite original furry species. You might notice that I'm looking pretty human today. It's a Halloween season, so if you're seeing this in the future, it's Halloween season at this time, and I'm wearing my Halloween costume. I'm a human for Halloween. Woo! I love doing the human stuff, like the taxes, eating the cheeseburgers, and human stuff. Anyway, let's get into it. We've wasted enough time. The creation myth. Every people has their own creation mythos. Something about your species being intelligent just turns them into philosophers. We all need to know where we came from, why we are, and who we are. Us Myconids are the same. We come from two factions of life, the Astral Myconid, the evolutionary form of the people of Fungalia, and the form the fungus of the planet chose for itself, the Terrestrial Myconid. Myconid comes from the word for the study of mushrooms, which is mycology. So Myconid is just people who are part mushroom. So the Astral Myconids are people like me, and Terrestrial Myconids are the ones that live on Fungalia that you will likely not see. Until I make a video on them, of course. Astral Myconids, like me, are among the first. You might be familiar with the mushroom species Cordyceps. On your planet, the mushroom infects its host and controls them. When it comes time for the mycelium to fruit, it will make its host climb as high as they can reasonably get, and then spring from their head, killing the host. Cordyceps on Fungalia worked the same until it developed a new evolutionary advantage. The mushrooms on Fungalia are a little different. The name Fungalia comes from fungus and Animalia, the two kingdoms that are together as one species on this planet. The mushrooms on Fungalia are the primary species. They've been the primary species on this planet, and they've been there longer than animals were. Our trees are small in comparison to the mushrooms there, and animals often scurry and hide underneath massive canopies of mushrooms, living under the shade of them. Things work differently there, and mushrooms are always quick to adapt. For one, the planet is absurdly humid. It's one of the main reasons I left. I hate humidity. It's always warm and wet and gross. I don't like it. In our creation myth, there was a man. Not human, but animals who walked and talked and lived life bipedal, similar to man. This man was one of them. His job was to maintain the mushrooms that his people ate, and Cordyceps was amongst them. The mushroom is known for having strong properties for health, like increasing stamina and improved blood oxygenation. This is actually like real science. Like it's been shown that Cordyceps has positive effects on the brain function and your blood oxygenation. So it was useful for these people who still hunted and chased their food. He'd cultivate many different kinds of mushrooms though, and one day, he just didn't wake up. He missed his weekly harvest, and the others in his village took notice. After checking in on him, they discovered that he died in his sleep. So they debated amongst each other. Many wanted to cremate his body and spread his ashes. Others thought since he took care of the mushrooms, it would be best if they took care of him this time. They left his body in the field with the intent for his mushrooms to eat his corpse, but that didn't happen. The mushrooms knew that if it wasn't for him, they wouldn't be alive. The next day, the mycelium slowly encased him like a cocoon, and over the next few days, the mycelium exchanged their nutrients with him and took host in his body. Within a week, he was awake again, back to tending his field. I know people coming back from the dead is a big deal on your planet too, so you probably wouldn't be surprised to find out he was worshipped for this. More were buried in the field, and more came back. But not just that, they'd live and love like they did before, and they had children, and the children were born altered like they were too. That's the story, at least. Modern people now believe that the Cordyceps mushroom jumped the species gap and saw the benefits to a symbiotic relationship over a parasitic one. Now, all of us Astral Myconid embody the spirit of the species we came from, alongside the instincts of the mushroom itself. We went higher and higher until we reached space and couldn't go any higher. We built colonies and ships out in space where we live now, going planet to planet, finding new homes for our people, as well as satisfying the wandering spirit of the Cordyceps itself. That's the romantic telling of it, though. I like to think we have a little bit more freedom than we let on. After we evolved, the planet Fungalia saw life as we made it, and was envious and decided to create its own. The mushrooms gained their own intelligence. One after another, species of mushrooms grew and walked upright, spreading new spores with each step. They're the terrestrial myconid, and they prefer to stay on Fungalia itself, or planets that we make specifically habitable for us and them. Anatomy. What makes us astrals? Well, our cultures are different, for one. We live transiently, hopping from system to system, leaving a piece of ourselves at every suitable planet that we find. But in terms of appearance, we look different from terrestrial myconids because we are the first species from Fungalia. Let's use me as an example. Not all astral myconids are this cute, or popular, or cute, but try to use your imagination. The defining trait of an astral myconid is that we were animals first. Animals are a different classification of life under the order Animalia, and fungus are their own too. At first we had more in common with Kingdom Animalia, but we grew and advanced, and now we're kind of more of our own thing. At the heart of each astral is a heart and mind, encased in a thick webbing of mycelium that keeps it constantly stimulated. The mind holds the blueprints to our bodies, and the mycelium grows out and around, forming new organs, limbs, and more to form the body according to our mental blueprint. It's rarely exact, but as long as an astral's mycelium heart isn't destroyed, it will continue to rebuild the best it can according to that blueprint. But there are complications. Mushrooms and animals aren't the same, so sometimes it borrows a little too heavily from one or the other in the recreation process. I've seen others getting nearly obliterated, just to come back the next day looking almost exactly the same, except they might be a new sex, have additional limbs, entire changes in personality. They might be giants or smaller, etc. Cool stuff, but mushrooms have over 30,000 sexes, and all of them are breeding pairs, so the mycelium itself doesn't care what hookup you're born with, because it doesn't affect your ability to make more myconid. We adapted, of course. Many of us use pronouns over calling ourselves a specific gender. It's faster than explaining what you were born as and what shape the mycelium chose this time. Other than looking like animals and being built of comprised layers of mycelium like a mushroom golem, we aren't all that different from humans. We breathe oxygen, eat, drink, sleep, raise families, and bleed, just like everyone else. We can reproduce the same way you do, but we can also infection reproduce by transplanting spores or pieces of our flesh, and we can vat infection reproduce, which is similar to transplant reproduction, but is usually saved for creating new life instead of infecting existing life. We create a mind and heart, put it into a vat with lots of water, nutrients, and mycelium, and the organs get encased and become a new myconid. We have babies and childhoods, and we age at the same rate as humans, but we live longer. We can live indefinitely if you count cloning as the same life. When my time is up, they'll take a piece of me and transplant it into a vat where a new me will grow. Whether that new me is a Ship of Theseus question, but that new me could be exactly like me, or that new me could be entirely different. I almost forgot about the antenna. Cordyceps sprout from the head when the conditions are right. During this time, the cordyceps needs to spread new spores, but since we don't reproduce this way anymore, all they're doing is spreading regular cordyceps spores. Most animals won't be infected by them because of having an immune system. During this time, you might notice large antennae sprout forth from our heads, and they can take a variety of shapes based on who it is. Some look silly, wobbly ones like mine, while some are more chunky or antler-like. Then we produce a lot of spores. They're usually no bigger than the size of like a quarter, but can be as big as $50. But once they come into contact with any surface that isn't a myconid, they'll dissipate like a snowflake on skin. The spores are usually shaped like circles or dots, but some of mine are star-shaped, and there are others who have squares, squiggles, and triangles. Design. Alright, so you heard how awesome I am and you want to be like me. So let's toss a couple of pieces in the vat and see what pops out. Or maybe you want to infect an existing one. We choose the species of the animal we want to start with, then choose the shape of the antenna, and the antenna shape decides our spore shape. Spores can be shown as specks in the hair, like mine, or specks on the body, and are bioluminescent. The dots and other glowing shapes are also natural biolumination caused by the fungus, and they function similarly to mushroom gills. So these spots may have an increased density of sporulation around them. Whatever shape you chose for the antenna will affect the shape of the spores and the spore vents. The antennas are retractable and only show during spore season, so you only need to show them in the ref if you want to. Choose your mane shape. This is a mane, but in actuality, it's more like a mushroom skirt, like you'd see on mushrooms with, you know, larger caps. This is just an aesthetic thing, so it can be any shape you want it to be, or you can skip out on having a mane entirely. Then we choose our colors, and that's pretty much it. Not a whole lot of rules here, except additional limbs are limited to 1 additional pair. This is just for consistency reasons. Pupils have to be white, but they can have outlines. This is because the person they were before the infection is a different one than who they are now, due to the shared consciousness. The white in the eyes is also a result of the bioluminescence, so the eyes can glow. Antennae have to be on the head in some way. Other than that, you can have additional antennae on the body, just make sure they're all the same antenna type, and the antennae that are on the head, they can be anywhere on the head. They can be like, you can have one sprouting from the forehead if you want, like an anglerfish. You can have them popping out the top of the head where horns would typically be, or you could have them like coming off the side of the head if you want. It's really up to you. Another rule is multi-headed species can't be infected because only one pair of organs can be infected. So if one gets infected, the immune system will always fight off the infection of the other. It's rare for both pairs of organs to be infected with different variants of Cordyceps australis, the species of cordyceps that we are. This would result in the multi-headed organism having the traits of both variants, so 2 different antennae and chimeras among their patterns. So if you were to have a character that was a Cerberus, a 3-headed dog thing, I'm sure you know what a Cerberus is, they would have to be infected with 3 different kinds of cordyceps. They would have to have 3 separate different infections, all administered, and they would each have different sets of antennas, and their pattern would be blended on the body. Rules. So far, all traits must be organic and natural to the animal it's based on, or made of mushrooms and mycelium, except for prosthetics. In that case, just do what you want. Sometimes the mycelium makes an oopsie, or the mycelium gets cauterized from damage and can't make a new limb, but no plant life. Plants are an entirely separate kingdom from mushrooms and animals, no robotics unless they're prosthetics. Myconids don't war, so no minigun arms and stuff like that. You can't have us looking like a Digimon. No gem or mineral traits. Any non-organic mineral would likely be rejected by the mycelium. Wings are fine as long as the animal species it's based on has them. So if your base species is a bat, it can have wings. Otherwise, the cordyceps does not give this new being wings. If you're using a fandom species as the base, make sure you're following the rules of my species as well as the rules of their species. For example, I know Manokits can't be hybridized with any other species whatsoever. So Manokit Myconids would not exist. That's currently all I have planned for now. If I come up with more, I'll make another video. Terrestrial myconids are being worked on by Mabel right now. She's one of the Discord admins. There's an approval process if you want to go through with it, but this is an entirely open species and you can, I'm not going to tell you what to do, but the approval process is more just for people who want to donate to me as a thank you. I'll send you this goofy looking certificate here that says you're an official Astral Myconid. It's pay what you want, starting at $5. I'll look at your creature and give you suggestions. Resell your myconids if you want, but don't charge more for them than the cost of the art itself. You can make adopts and stuff, but credit me and link the video somewhere in the description of the art so that people can learn about what the species is. I'll be making a page for them soon, and if you want when that is done, you can link that instead of the video. If you like the species, then make sure to subscribe for updates, and like the video while you're down there. If you're seeing this in the future, check the pinned comment for updates, because this might be old news. For now, though, thanks to my patrons, Ruru, Mousebard, Link, Series, Kit Chimera, and Romu. They make videos, and this time, species like this possible. If you want to join, just click the join button below and join the Discord. You'll get emotes you can use in my comments and chats, and early access to videos like this. Don't forget to check out my links like Twitch. You can find all of my links on bit.ly/m/SeraProto. If you want some of the benefits that you get from being a YouTube member, you can also subscribe to my Patreon. I get a larger chunk of the money because it's not being taken up by YouTube, so that's just an optional thing you can do if you want, but I have adjusted the prices for YouTube so that I'm not like, you know, I'm not really losing all that much. So you can just sub on YouTube if you can just join on YouTube if you want. I'm not going to tell you what to do. You know how to spend your money. I'll see you all later. I need to prepare the vats. Bye. This week's viewer of the week is everyone who asked me to do a species video for my own species. There were a lot of you, but here is almost the most recent 3. There was actually another one that happened after I wrote the script for this, so this video was in such high demand that people are still asking me to do it while I'm in the middle of making it. So, Haha No says, will you be making a video about your own species? No, never, not happening. Fox the Furry suggested this as a Q&A question, but I made the species video first. If you could make your own furry fandom species, what would it be and how would it look? If you do have one, what is it? I've actually made a few original species but never officially supported them. One was Myconids, which I just did part of. There's terrestrial Myconids, but that's a long ways off. There's a lot to make with that. It's not just making one species, it's making like a lot of variants too. I made a species that's video game console AIs that got downloaded into shells that are like robot bodies, and another called Pseudomera that I created as an adopt a long time ago that just I got really lazy about and never did anything with it. Pseudomera are chimeras, but they're fake ones because their extra heads are actually possessions from ghosts that show up as like little sock puppets on tails. I thought it was a cute idea. I just never fleshed it out more than the one adopt that I made that nobody bought. Can of Whoop-Ass said, are you going to turn your OC into a species? It'd be cool if we all got a space sheep. Well, you can make your own now, but don't restrict it to just sheep. I made this as open-ended as possible so you can make any kind you want. Fan art time. No new fan art, but I did do a trade. Add space for a design that I can use on merch. If you want to get Zombie Me on a t-shirt, check out the link in the description. It's only available during Halloween 2022. And also check out the link to Twitter and stuff where you can commission them for if you want art too. They're also doing free requests within their rules, but you would have to check out the link for that kind of information. And with that, thank you everybody for watching, and bye.